Hey, what's going on, Uptrap Virgin Gang? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good. Just gonna have a yap session right this second. I have a couple things I want to talk about a little later today, hopefully. But I want to talk about this first because it was kind of on my mind as I was sitting around, just scrolling around the gram, scrolling around on the X, scrolling around everywhere, just looking to see what everyone's talking about with Pokemon. So, of course, Surging Sparks, once again, yeah, I always got to start the video like this. Surging Sparks is all everyone's talking about right this second when it comes to the Pikachu. When it comes to Latias, Latias is actually doing pretty well. And a couple other cards there people are genuinely excited for, which is something you like to see with these types of sets. But the prices some of them are fetching for is very strange considering how much and how often I see people pull these cards. I guess it really is more demand. People just want the fucking card that much. People are willing to pay a bunch of money for said cards. We'll go into how much people are going to pay for some cards next video. I'm going to talk about the Pikachu specifically, but the money people are willing to actually dump into Pokemon cards, it never surprises me, but sometimes it does exceed how far I think people will go for certain things based off previous experiences. And that's what's weird about this space is like you can have a bunch of past experiences with shit. You can have lived through like two booms. You could have lived through like fucking, Vivid Voltage, watching that whole thing happen and make comparisons to it when it comes to actually Surging Sparks. There are definitely some comparisons you can compare to it, but a lot of things are happening kind of differently. The set composition is different, and generally how people are receiving it is being taken a little bit differently now. You definitely have like a bigger divide of people where there's some people are like, yeah, this is like one of the best sets ever. Then you got some people like, yeah, it's okay, but I still don't think it's the best set. I don't think this is going to be the best set Scarlet and Violet has. And then you already got some people that are just straight up like, this is the best set. You need to put a bunch of money into this one right this fucking second because this is going to be the set. With, of course, Prismatic Evolutions thrown there too, but that's a special set. It's going to be looked at a little bit differently. It's going to be collected differently. People are going to have different opinions on it. We don't really know how much that shit's going to be printed. And, of course, people, we have previous experiences with special sets, but like I said, anything could be on the table when it comes to stuff. It's a lot more acceptable for people to do specific things with cards. It's a lot more acceptable for, like, the selling tactics and a lot of weird things. There's a lot of people here that have just kind of accepted a lot of things as status quo. And that's going to be how shit flows moving forward with this stuff. People can make videos. People can yell at the sky all goddamn day about the weird things people do. But it's generally accepted here because the majority of people in this hobby are here to make some fucking money. And it's way less about actually liking the hobby. People can be like, oh, well, I like the hobby. People like the hobby because they like the money. That's where a majority of the liking the hobby comes from nowadays because it is monetized now. You can easily make a little bit of profit out of this stuff. You can pretend to like some things. You can make a YouTube video, pretend to have smiles and all that stuff. Pretend to be a good card. We had plenty of examples of people who did that are currently no longer here. They said, fuck it. I made my money. I showed my fucking face. Things didn't work out. And when things got kind of tough, they fucking got out of here. They got out of here with a quickness and didn't even bother to say goodbye to people. It happened. There's several examples that I'm sure one comes to your mind right off the bat. One thing I see, though, and this is something that kind of made me laugh, is I genuinely see where there's a good growing number of people that are genuinely trying to push Japanese again. The Japanese card market is definitely getting a lot of people. I don't know if they're new. I don't know if they've been here a little bit. I don't really know what the fuck's going on. All I know is I see people in the comment section with the whole Japanese is better thing. Japanese should be worth more. Japanese is this. Japanese is that. And whether you feel that way about it or not is completely irrelevant. There is a growing number of people, once again, contrary to the English counterpart of it, saying the Japanese counterparts are better. Now, are they better in some cases? Sure. Quality, what you're getting from Japanese boxes, the consistency of the box. But then again, the consistency of Japanese boxes also works against it. Because actually pulling one secret rare and it being like a full art Pokemon, and that's just what you get out of that box, a lot of people have a major problem with that. A lot of people are like, fuck no, this should not be the secret rare I get out of my box. It should definitely be something else. Which the secret rare being a full art Pokemon or a full art trainer contributes to like why actually pulling a SAR out of a Japanese box is so fucking cool. It's definitely cool in English, but I don't think it like has the same fucking merit or bar as it does in Japanese because of all the other cards that are considered secret rares in the sets. Yes, the Japanese sets are smaller, but actually pulling something from that pool in the Japanese counterpart, I do think is a little, it has a little bit more of a oomph to it, considering in Japanese, I mean, like fucking, it's one and done basically. While in English, you can get a bunch of cards in one booster box. Hell, you can get two fucking SIRs in English in one booster box. I've seen it before. I've seen where people have literally, I saw a base set opening, a base set booster box, where literally someone pulled the Koraidon and the Miraidon in the exact same booster box, and that shit just kind of happens in English sometimes. Weird shit like that does happen in Japanese, but it is very few and far between. It's usually a gold card paired with like one of the SARs or maybe a full art or something like that. Usually that's kind of what your heavy box is going to look like in Japanese. But anyway, it's not really one of those things where people, if whether you like it or not, whether you agree with it or not, people will try to push that, because in contrary to the English shit, when English rises and Japanese falls or whatever, something else happens, there is going to be a growing number of people that move away from that English bullshit and go over to the Japanese bullshit, and the people that go over to the Japanese bullshit want their Japanese bullshit to be really expensive, and it's a cycle all over again. Basically what happens is English is king right now. A bunch of people migrate over to the Japanese side of the house. Me personally, I've always collected Japanese. I've collected it before it was even something people thought was like an investment take or anything like that. Obviously, there were still promos. Obviously, there were still things that had a little bit of value to it. But that shit didn't really take off until like pre-boom, when people discovered some of the cards were actually kind of exclusive, and then the whole fucking content creation space really exploded with Pokemon cards. Really fucking blew up overnight. And that's when a lot of Japanese kind of took off. Ever since, it's cooled off a little bit. Some of the cards don't sell for near as much as they used to, and that's fine, but Japanese has definitely been through its up and downs. I've been made fun of for it. I've said it's fucking stupid. I've been said like, oh, you can't read the entire thing. I can read a little bit of it. I'm the fucking learning a little bit as I go. But you can't read the whole thing. What's the point? Oh, it's not worth a whole lot. Whatever you can think of that's been said about it, I've been fucking basically thrown at and be like, yeah, this is stupid that you collect this. This is fucking dumb. Anything you can think of under the sun where someone would like make fun of like Japanese cards, something like that, I've actually gotten that criticism before, way back before the boom even happened. And how I have the Japanese collection that I currently do have, with a lot of the older Sun and Moon trainers that are really sought after, a lot of the older full arts, a lot of the old fucking secret rares and fucking alternate art tag teams. I got those because back then no one gave a shit about Japanese, and now some of them do have some value. And even with the fucking decline, they still do have value, and people are still kind of clamoring for a few of them. It's just it's really weird how I've watched everything go fucking back and forth when it comes to that. It's literally a goddamn cycle. English to Japanese. Japanese is probably gonna fucking go back up. The fucking reprints for shit are going to be consumed. We're probably going to see another wave of people just opening up a bunch of Japanese 151. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but I definitely do think the amount they're going to put out there for 151, it's going to see a resurgence. It's going to see people that are just like kicking it again, whether they're new people, whether PokeRev decides to open another case on his fucking channel. It really doesn't matter. I think the movement from over here to Japanese is the writing's on the wall with it too. You can kind of see it like how it happened last time. Once again, things are a little bit different every time something happens. But the fucking initiation for it is definitely still there, where you got a bunch of people like Japanese this, Japanese that, Japanese this. The only real thing that's like different about it is now people for the most part know that Japanese has like a certain quality, a certain air to it. So maybe it might not have the same effect. It's not really as unknown, because in 2020, 2021, that was like usually like the year where a lot of people that have been here for a second, that was their first taste of it, where they saw like stuff and they're like, oh wow, a lot of this stuff grades really well. A lot of this stuff grades in like a PSA 10. But then that started working against it too, where people were like, oh well, it's so easy to get a PSA 10, so the PSA 10s, there's so fucking many of them that it's not worth a whole lot, even though there's a fuck ton of like Umbreon VMAXs and people really want those, but like that doesn't really affect that. It's a weird thing. It's how people justify certain things, and that logic where there's a high pop of something but it's high in value could easily switch over to the Japanese side of the house too. That really doesn't matter if a lot of people just genuinely want something. I think it's just funny how like you can literally watch this place just repeat itself over and over again. And people that have been here probably a little bit longer than me, I've been here a while, but people that have been here like fucking since like, you know, maybe 2014, 2015, all the way back, I'm sure this shit has like really been like, it's a whole fucking cycle of shit happening, and you just watch unfold over and over. It's just weird that people are just kind of pushing Japanese again all of a sudden. People are just all of a sudden like, Japanese is going to be the shit. You just wait. You just watch. This is going to be the move. It's going to be worth fucking $500 again. And there's a lot of people like, haha, silly you. It's not going to, well, it happened before. The big boom happened with Japanese, where a lot of fucking full art trainers and a lot of the secret rares and the promos were going for a stupid amount because people had just discovered them and genuinely thought that that was going to be the move because people pushed on stuff. I mean, I still remember Twice Bakey Jakey having the whole fucking full art trainer push. People act like I fucking talk about him for absolutely no reason, but he definitely did that. He definitely was like, guys, the full art trainer market is the move right this second. And I haven't heard him fucking say a word about them since, but it's okay. It's fine. It's all the hot news, it's all the hot topics, it's all the fucking crazy shit. Japanese this, English that, fucking Korean this, crazy other cards this. It's gonna be something. It's Surging Sparks is the current flavor. Prismatic Evolution is going to be the flavor. We'll see what happens whenever fucking Terrestrial Festival and Japanese drops. We'll see how crazy of a shit show that is. That's going to really be the driving factor for certain things. But remember, special sets in Japanese, the singles are going to be fucking everywhere. You can buy them. VMAX Climax is a great example where you can look back at that shit. V-Star Universe, great example where you can look back at that. Once again, things change. Things are a little bit different. I just think we have a good basis to actually just sit there and look and see what could happen, what might happen, and it's just really interesting watching things just repeat themselves, but just have very minute differences between stuff, especially when it comes to like Vivid Voltage, Surging Sparks. You can compare those shits all day and be like, wow, they're very similar, yet also they're not very similar. It's wild. That's all I got. Appreciate it, Virgin Gang. See you later. I mean, I just yapped. I didn't really do anything in this video. It's just weird. Just wanted to vent about it a little bit. Just wanted to talk and I don't know. I guess we'll see where Japanese is sitting here in a little bit. I collect Japanese because I like it. Some people collect Japanese because they think it's big money. It's